The noise inside this gymnasium can be deafening this time of year. But it will be somewhat quieter in 2020, as the Bedford Road Invitational Tournament's loudest voice fell silent 4 months ago. Kelly Biff Bowers, who passed away in September at the age of 70, was synonymous with BRIT. And as preparations for the 52nd installment of the tournament ramped up this week, members of Saskatoon's basketball community remembered him fondly.
Kelly was everything about this tournament. He was the lifeblood of it. He was loud, he was eager, he was willing to do the smallest thing, whether it was wiping the floor. He loved getting up in front and making everyone laugh. My memories with him, he just was so supportive of me, especially like I took over the coaching the senior team as a 26-year-old, kind of pretty fresh face to everything, and I remember him putting his arm around me, and like any little idea I had, he'd be like, yeah, that sounds great, I'll help you get it figured out.
And I just remember my first memory, I don't know if it was the first time I met him, was as a ref and getting kind of upset about something as a kid, as a player, and him coming over and just making a joke or something and calming me down. And something like, lots of refs and lots of people would have been justified telling me to shut up, and that just wasn't him. He was a good ref, and he could be tough if he had to be, but that's my first memory of him, of just being such a good guy.
Kelly's been a big part of my life for the majority of my life because, you know, he's reffing basketball games or organizing community sports, so I've known Kelly for a really long time, and so just the amount of time and effort that he gave to not only this tournament but his other endeavors and kids in general is really fascinating, and we're really sad to see him go, and so this weekend's going to be obviously a little bit different, but I know he's probably looking over things up there and keeping an eye on everything.
Maybe I'll talk about something that we don't talk a lot about him. It's just what he did as a teacher. Like, we would have kids we would look at kids' attendance. There'd be one class they go to, Mr. Bauer's class. You know, he just he approached teaching and everything the way he did his sports, and we all know about him from sports because there's lots of high profile, but he was the same high energy, the same great guy with all the kids he taught. And yeah, we miss him at BRIT, but I think we just miss him all over the place. But just you have to be happy when you think of Kelly, because he always put a positive spin on everything. So I'm just going to enjoy the memories of him, but we will certainly miss him.
Tributes poured in during the annual media conference and the opening ceremonies, and there are reminders of Bauer's legacy throughout the school. One will be on display for all time, as the gymnasium where he played, coached, refereed, and oversaw the tournament has been renamed in his honor.
We promise to take everything that he had learned from his wisdom, his passion, and his heart, and carry on traditions that meant so much to him and made him proud.
The quote, appropriately, is emblazoned on one of the former bleacher benches, where countless fans squished together under Biff's direction to do the BRIT Shuffle. And Kelly is leaving his mark on the floor one last time, as this image of his face has been burned into the boards where thousands of games have been played.
I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Being able to see kind of the old wooden floor, so it was a piece of the floor that was taken off where they were able to kind of sand it down and then kind of have his image burnt on there.
Outstanding. They've done a fantastic job here at Bedford Road to honor the man that is Kelly Bowers, and again, they couldn't have done a better job up there.
It was cool. I was up hanging panels about last week or so, and so I was really face to face with him because we were up 20 feet up in the air, and being able to just be face to face with him, yeah, it got me a little choked up, and I just looking at him, I'm really proud that that's what the school decided to do, because I mean, he deserves every bit of that, and he in his own way, he wouldn't want any of that. He just wants to work and keep going, but it's a nice way to remember him by.
Among Kelly's many roles in the recent history of the tournament was emceeing the media conference. While he was always quick to suggest that people behind the scenes should be featured for their work, he also always stepped up and provided memorable quotes for us to use, even as reporters joked that we didn't really need a microphone to pick up his booming voice.
Well, actually, I haven't missed too many Brits. I refereed actually in the very first Brit.
Right.
I was a second-year university student at the time. Of course, I was a graduate of Bedford Road Collegiate, and our team kind of was the team that went to the Luther College tournament in Regina in '67, and some teachers went down, and then 2 years later they said, you know, we got to do something like this in Saskatoon to kind of follow along with the idea of what the LIT was all about. So I got very involved with Brit right when I was a university student, and refereeing, of course, and then I started teaching here in '74, and I taught here for about 15 or 16 years, and always been involved with basketball, and still continue to coach a little football here at Bedford Road. So I've always been part of the school, and early January is just kind of the thing you do. No matter what's on the planet, you're coming to Brit because it's just been a big part of my life.
His love for the sport of basketball was obvious. But Kelly's leadership at BRIT over the past half-century goes far beyond the game. He took the same amount of pride in getting students at Bedford Road involved, so that it became just as much their tournament as the athletes who played here.
We wanted to make sure we do everything we can to kind of make the tournament great and just honor him that way, because knowing Kelly, that's what he wanted this tournament to keep running, everyone to have the most fun they could, to be the biggest success that it has, and we don't want to take anything away from that, but it's definitely, it feels a little different not having him here, and definitely sad to see him go, but couldn't have had someone who was more supportive of the tournament and someone who kind of was a great role model for me coming up in terms of building the tournament to what it is.
And so, as is only appropriate when we pay tribute to one of the most legendary voices in the history of the Saskatoon sporting scene, we'll let Kelly have the last word.
I think people go to BRIT because they know they're probably going to see the best team from BC or maybe the best team from Manitoba, and that's always been one of the main things we've tried to do, and knowing that often Saskatoon teams won't even be part of the program on the Saturday night finals, but we still pack the place, and that is one of the philosophies. And you talk about first class, just does an excellent job of getting staff involved, getting the kids to put their best foot forward, and everything they do with a lot of pride, a lot of enthusiasm. High school sports really is part of the education process. Not all education takes part in the classroom. We think the athletic fields or the courts or whatever is part of the education process. So, you know, the high school sports are delivered in such a way that there is an emphasis on education, and really it's education out of the classroom. So that's one of the reasons why I think I really enjoy them. I just love working with young people, watching them mature and grow up, just getting involved in programs that the school has to offer, and of course athletics being part of that. But generally those are some of the things that contribute to somebody coming through high school and developing into a good all-round person.